people. So I'm here to talk to you today to share one of my favorite fun raw food recipes. So you know that I love to do raw food. This is Mama Dawn, and y'all know I love to do live dishes or raw foods. And so what a live dish is, or what raw foods are, is when you actually use grains, nuts, things like that, and that have not been super processed and have not been cooked, who have not been heated above 115 degrees. So what I have here is I'm going to make raw brownies, and this is not my recipe. This is a recipe from therawtarian.com. She's an awesome raw foodist, and she has some really great easy recipes. So what I have here is the base of our brownies is going to be pecans. So these are raw pecans. We buy them in bulk, and you can get exactly how many you need. And so I'm going to just go ahead, and what I do is, notice I'm actually making my recipe in a blender. Yes, this is a Ninja. It's awesome. It's like a cross between a food processor and a blender. So I'm going to just use this, and I'm going to put all my ingredients in here. So I have one cup of raw pecans that I'm going to throw in there. Right? Take one to the head. Okay? You gotta eat as you go. It doesn't work if you don't. And then what I like to do here is I'm going to actually process these to get these a little crummy. So you'll see this is kind of like in place of flour in a recipe. So in this raw recipe, gotta mess with that. I'm going, ready? Cover your ears. So notice how crumbly they are. You can see they're really crumbly, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my dates, and I have a cup of dates. And dates, I didn't say I was going on a date. These are raw dates, and these are dates. And what they do is they look like huge raisins, right? And they help to sweeten and add some fiber, so that I'm not just adding pure honey, right, or agave nectar, which is what I'm going to add in this recipe. So I'm going to add my dates, and then I want to break these down because this is the basis of my mixture here. I'm going to blend again. I'm going to stop this, and what I like to do is, you see how all this was stuck over on the side. So I'm going to scrape that off to the sides and make sure that everything is being mixed up nicely. Okay. And we're going to go at it again. It doesn't sound as bad this time. It makes the print open up a bit. And so we're looking good. So at this point, I'm going to add the rest of my ingredients. And we're coming back over here. So I'm going to add the rest of my ingredients. I like to scrape down some of this stuff off the side, my pecans. So mind you, all we have in here so far is pecans and dates. Okay? The pecans are on a little date with the dates, and they in here mixing and mingling, having a good old time. So now I'm going to add the rest of my recipe here. I have 5 tablespoons of cacao powder. That's, of course, this is brownies, so you can't have brownies without cocoa, right? So here's my cacao powder, raw cacao powder. Was that 3?
I think it was 3. Yeah.
4 and 5. Because I know I haven't been measuring these perfectly. Okay. And then I have 4 tablespoons of my unsweetened shredded coconut. And so believe it or not, coconut is the fat in this recipe. It's what's going to give it a buttery texture. It's going to give it a buttery flavor. You know, there's certain things I always tell my daughters is when you're cooking, you can be generous with certain things. And coconut, shredded coconut is one of those things. So it doesn't give it, believe it or not, this is not going to taste like coconut. Right? And then I have a little more sweetness. I'm going to add some raw honey in here. This is amazing, and it smells like to the gods. It smells like it's God made it, which God did. When you think about that, I guess God did make the honey. So that's why it smells amazing. So I'm going to throw my honey in here. That's 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of honey. I have my, and you're probably wondering, why don't she just take that tablespoon off of that ring? Well, I like to keep it on there because in the past, I bake a lot, I cook a lot, and when I take the tablespoon off, then I end up losing other pieces. And so this set, actually, I have had for the longest. It's like an 1/8 teaspoon, a 1/4 teaspoon, a 1/2 teaspoon, a 1/2 tablespoon, and everything. So it's awesome. So, and then my last ingredient is sea salt. So, and so I add a little sea salt.
Would Himalayan work?
Himalayan pink salt is perfect because Himalayan
together.
pink salt, as you know, this hasn't been open, right?
No.
Himalayan pink salt, Himalayan pink salt. Uh-oh. We have some technical difficulties on it. Himalayan pink salt adds all kinds of awesome nutrients and minerals into your meal, your food. So I never not use Himalayan pink salt if I can. So I'm gonna add a teaspoon of this, a 1/4 teaspoon of Himalayan pink salt. Get that, throw that over the shoulder there. All right, so you see all that in there, and it don't look good. It don't look tasty at all, but son, watch.
It smells tasty.
Don't believe me, just watch. So we're gonna put that in there, and then everybody thought about making brownies in a blender. Who would have thought about it? We're making brownies. So this gets sticky, and so I'm gonna do like I did before. You can come and look at that. See how it's already mixing together nicely. So I'm just going to make sure that it's all fair. Everybody gets to have a dance with the blade. You want everybody to get their dance. All the chicken, all the coconut, all the make sure it's really nice to mix up. So again, I have a Ninja because I do this a lot. But actually, this wasn't a really expensive one. They have more expensive Ninjas than this one. I think I might have paid $60 or $70 for it. Which, if you are a cook and you enjoy cooking, that's not expensive for a piece of kitchen equipment at all. But you can use a high-speed blender. But of course, the higher speed your blender, the better, because what happens is it really helps to cut up everything and make it all fun for you. Okay, so let's see if we can give it one more round in here, and then we're almost ready. So this is the fun part here. It's just making sure, because it's in a blender, making sure that it all gets all mixed up and chopped up and convoluted and having a ball. You want to give that coconut an opportunity to really gel with everything. Remember I said we're trying to break down the coconut, because the coconut is our fat in this lesson. Sorry, I didn't do that. safety feature built into the Ninja. When you turn it off, you pop that, it automatically shuts off. My daughters love the brownies, but they hate the noise of the food processor. Okay, so you don't want to over process it. You don't want it to get, you don't want your blade, sometimes it's a motor, so it can get hot, and you don't want that. So I'm making sure, I'm checking the temperature in here and making sure that it's still warm, because if it gets warm and starts to cook everything, then it defeats the purpose. Right? And then one more time. We're about ready. I love this. This is bringing one of those foods that I said I didn't make. Okay, so we're ready now. I think it's about mixed together enough. And what I'm going to do is I pop that off. I'm going to take my blade out. And I'm going to pour everything now into this pan. Now, you notice I'm putting it in a gas pan. I'm putting it in not a gas pan, a glass pan. Not because I'm not, this doesn't need to be made. I'm putting it in here. Tanya is working, child. Work. And so with my hands, so I just washed my hands a second ago, I'm going to actually pat down my brownies. And so you can, good. I'm actually patting them down, and if you look at them, now look at that. Doesn't that actually starting to look like brownies? We're not charging up, right?
I didn't feel it vibrate when it normally vibrates.
Vibrate. It's not vibrating?
Give me my other.
We having technical difficulties here.
But it's still filming.
It's still filming though. Okay. So what I do is I literally pat my brownies down just to get some of the air out and to help it become a more solid, a solid structure. And then what I normally would do at this point, once it's all pat down to my pleasure, see how I've tried to get most of the oil out of there, not the oil, the air. Then I put it in the refrigerator. And I put this in the refrigerator for about, it never lasts for about an hour, honestly, but I put it in the refrigerator. But we're going to skip that refrigerator process, and we're going to go ahead and cut. And so you notice, look at that. It's cutting just like brownies, isn't it? So I'm going to cut it. And pop one out, and watch this. It looks just like a little brownie. So when I refrigerate it, it gets a little harder and more firm and solid because that coconut, like I said, that oily coconut was like a butter. And so look at that. It's a little solid piece, and you can taste it. And oh my goodness. So it tastes like an actual brownie. Mama J?
Let me get another zoom in on that little piece right there.
I have to be the judge.
Mama J has to be the judge. Mama J's going to try it now. Oh my goodness. She's not on camera. Mama, you need to get her on. I'm on the first face. Look at that. Isn't that good? It's rich. It's fudgy. Do you taste coconut? Like all the ingredients really meld together, and the coconut, like I said, has this process of being kind of a catalyst. The coconut breaks down and becomes fatty. So if you're thinking, I don't like coconut, you don't worry about that. This doesn't taste like an Almond Joy. It all really blends together. That cocoa is gluten rich, that honey blends in, and I have a whole pan of brownies that I can eat that are high in fiber, 100% nutrients. I have all the nutrients in the cocoa, or the nutrients in the pecans. I'm eating pecans here. Raw pecans, and I know Southerners want to say pecans. I say pecans. I'm from the Bronx. Raw pecans, raw dates. Notice not an ounce of sugar, not an ounce of flour. So this is high in fiber. It has a low glycemic index, and it's super good for you because all those nutrients and healthy fats are there. So you can have your brownies, and you can eat them too. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe. So how easy it was. I'd love to answer questions, so feel free to holler back at me if you hit me